Good afternoon, Chairman.
Good afternoon, councillors, officers. Welcome to the first, but the second attempt of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. My name's Andy Quarmby. I'm the independent chairman of this committee. Slight tangent, my background's in the military, civil service, health and safety executive, airworthiness and the NHS. So I cover quite a number of sectors. I'd like to remind people that the attendance, there's an audio visual feed for this meeting being broadcast live by the Combined Authorities website. I noticed that there is nobody in the public galleries, but if anybody does come, then I'll point out that it is a public meeting. I'll try and make sure that everybody's input is welcomed and try and make sure that you get the opportunity to question any of the presentations. Now I'd like to move on to the formal agenda, the first item of which is the election of a vice chair to my good self. Have we any nominations? We do need a vice chairman.
Chairman, I just want to advise yourself and the members of the committee that nominations can be received for a constituent council member to be the vice chair.
We've had a nomination of Councillor Philip Roberts. Are there any other nominations? Don't think so. Could we have a seconder? Councillor Jane King. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm afraid we've got to have a vote on that before he run away. Those in favour? No abstentions by the numbers? Well appointed. Thank you very much. Next time. Second item is apologies for absence. I will hand you over to Rachel for this one.
Thank you, Chairman. We have apologies from Councillor John Davidson from North Lincolnshire Council. Noted. Item 3 is declarations of interest. Do any members of this committee have any interest to declare? I'd now like to move on to item 4, which is the role and remit of the Combined Authority Overview and Scrutiny Committee, which builds on the presentations from earlier. I'd like to invite Tracy to present a report on that. Tracy is the Senior Scrutiny Officer for Lincolnshire County Council.
Thank you, Chairman. The report provides an overview of the remit and functions of the newly established GLCCA Overview and Scrutiny Committee. This is a regulatory committee of the authority, which means that the combined county authority must have this committee by law. The functions of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee are to review or scrutinise any decision made or other action taken in connection with any mayoral function or non-mayoral function of the combined county authority, make reports or recommendations to the mayor with respect to any mayoral function of the authority, make reports or recommendations to the authority with respect to any non-mayoral function of the authority, and make reports or recommendations to the authority or the mayor on any matter that affects the authority's area or the inhabitants of the area. Your role as a scrutiny committee is to provide constructive challenge, hold the mayor and the authority to account, to contribute to policy and strategy review and development, challenge performance, and to ensure transparency and accountability in relation to mayoral and authority decisions. While not a decision-making body, this committee can influence outcomes by identifying areas for improvement and making evidence-based recommendations. Happy to take any questions. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Tracy. Any questions from the councillors or officers? I propose, therefore, that we're satisfied that we have reviewed that document or that presentation, and can we have a proposer for that? We'll go for Councillor Smith.
Proposed, Chair.
And any seconder? Councillor Mitchell. Can we have a vote on that, please? Yes, in favour, sorry, yes. Unanimous. We then move on to item 5, the Scrutiny Overview and Scrutiny Committee Work Programme. I'd like to invite Tracy again to present a report.
Thank you, Chairman. The work programme for the GLCCA Overview and Scrutiny Committee will set out a forward plan of activity for the forthcoming year. It will include a balance of policy review and development, performance monitoring, and items for pre- and post-decision scrutiny as and when appropriate. Attached to Appendix A is the GLCCA forward plan of key and non-key decisions from the 1st of August, and at Appendix B is a list of decisions taken up to the day this agenda was published for the 30th of July meeting. The latest version of the forward plan was circulated to members yesterday afternoon by email. The committee is asked to consider these and identify any items it would like to suggest for pre- or post-decision scrutiny, taking into consideration the committee's capacity. Looking ahead, there is one addition to the agenda for the next meeting on the 5th of November. In addition to the Greater Lincolnshire Local Transport Plan and the GLCCA Corporate Plan, which are both for pre-decision scrutiny prior to decision by the GLCCA on 10th of December, the committee will now also consider a report on transport revenue funding, prior to decision by the Transport Board on 12th of November. However, it is worth noting that as the GLCCA is a new body, there will be some fluidity over when decisions will be ready, so there may be further additions or changes to the November agenda as the forward plan develops. Members are encouraged to suggest areas for scrutiny based on emerging priorities and public interest. Any suggestions will be noted and discussed further with the Chairman and the Vice Chairman and officers after the meeting to identify the best method to consider that suggestion. Thank you, Chairman.
Any questions from the floor? Councillor Wilson.
Yes, Chair. I'd like, on the forward plan, it's got the skills strategy.
Is your microphone on?
On the forward plan, I know that the skills strategy is coming forward. I think this scrutiny committee should scrutinise that as soon as possible, you know, with discretion to officers and yourself to work that in. But I think that needs to come forward. We know in northern Lincolnshire there's closures of many places of significance, and it would affect residents in northern Lincolnshire significantly.
If we could give that additional weight for the plan. Yeah, I've done work on the South Humber, the domino sites along South Humber, and they've been devastated in the last decade. So my concerns are shared with you. Yeah. Thank you very much. Any other comments from the floor? Sorry.
Thank you. Just to clarify, so in terms of the forward plan, so I presume not every single one of these items will be on every meeting agenda, I assume. No. So with regards to, for example, the budget update, would it not be preferable for us to have a regular budget updates, given the fact this is a new members here that haven't seen the budget update, and to be kept in the loop with that? Would that be beneficial?
There is merit to that. Is that? Are the figures available at sort of a quarterly rate, 6 weekly? Yeah. We can give those additional weight. Any comments?
Through you, Chair, just to make note that I understand that budget reporting will go to the Audit Committee.
Any other comments? Councillor Wilson again.
Thank you, Chair. On similar lines, there's going to be on the forward plan about the corporate plan, and would part of this committee be receiving updates on the corporate plan, where we are, how we're going against that plan? If not, should we think about future items, you know, once every quarter or whatever, on the corporate plan to make sure that we're making progress?
On the first part, the corporate plans, would they come here as a matter of course?
Yeah.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, my understanding is that there would be an update on the corporate plan that could come to future meetings of the Scrutiny Committee.
And then we can give weight to that moving forward as to whether we look at it every meeting or alternate meetings, etc. Are you comfortable with that? Yeah. Any other comments from the floor? Can we have a proposer for that view, that way forward? Oh, Councillor Parkinson is a proposer. Any seconder? Councillor Wilkinson. And a vote, please. Oh, unanimous again. Moving now on to item 6, the Greater Lincolnshire Local Transport Plan. I'd like to welcome Matthew, the Statutory Scrutiny Officer, for the Combined Authority to introduce the report.
Thank you, Chairman. This, Chairman, is the first substantive scrutiny item you might want to consider. Well, in fact, you are considering it's on your agenda. This is an item that, as I say, is a substantive item. There are decisions being taken around the local transport plan. You have an opportunity here. You will see from the 2 recommendations to comment on the report. By commenting on the report, the minutes will collect a summary of the views that are shared here at the committee. Clearly, if there's unanimous agreement on the comments that are being made, it will reflect the views of the committee. If there's a bit of a split and that members make contrary points, then the minutes will reflect, and indeed future reports to the relevant executive decision-making board will reflect that there was perhaps a range of views there. In terms of the content of the report, that's something that I couldn't speak to, Chair, not being as I am a transport planner. But hopefully that gives you a flavour of this item, and other colleagues may wish to speak to it.
Yeah, I was looking through the plan. I like the aims from the constituent authorities. My only sort of concern about this is that a lot of our transport plan is delivered by third parties. So how you measure that and how you control that, I would look at in greater detail when the final plan does come to us. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. Is it worth me kind of setting out kind of some of the background, I suppose, to the Transport Board and to the local transport plan, and hopefully that could answer any questions that any members have. So one of the key powers now held by the County Combined Authority is the responsibility to act as the Transport Authority for Greater Lincolnshire. Prior to this, the 3 constituent councils each acted as their own Transport and Highways Authority, and as such, each council currently has its own local transport plan. So as part of the devolution deal, the GLCCA had to develop a provisional area-wide LTP by March 2025. And that LTP is then finalised by the Combined Authority once it's established. So the 3 constituent authorities have worked together to carry out that initial assessment of the key transport challenges to be addressed in Greater Lincolnshire. The report to the Transport Board presented an initial assessment undertaken by the 3 constituent authorities of what could form a vision and the key themes for the development of the local transport plan. This reflected the work that had been carried out prior to the establishment of the CCA and prior to the change of administration at Lincolnshire County Council. The report asked the Transport Board to consider specifically whether the proposed broad direction of travel was appropriate, and subject to the board's steer, officers would then be able to return with a revised scope and a more detailed programme of work to progress the development of the local transport plan. The recommendations and content of the report were presented as a position statement at a particular point in time. The devolution deal identified the LTP as one of the first policy areas that the combined authority needed to address. So the presentation of the report provided the first opportunity really for the Transport Board to offer a steer on whether the current direction of travel was appropriate. The 4 recommendations that were set out in the report were endorsed by the Transport Board, and officers committed at that meeting to bringing back a detailed scope and work programme to the next meeting of the Transport Board in October. And until such time that there's a dedicated resource within the combined authority to lead this work, the work will be led by the 3 constituent authorities with the support of the combined authority.
Anything from Vanessa on infrastructure?
I think Lana's covered a fairly good summary there of our current position, but very happy to take any questions, Chairman.
Any? Councillor Mitchell.
Yeah, 2 questions, if I may, please, Chair. You've mentioned the management of the LTP being assumed by the GLCCA. Do you have any ideas of timescales when that might be implemented? And my second question is around public transport and buses in particular. All of the constituent areas have got their own enhanced bus partnerships at the moment. Could you tell me what the plans are with the enhanced partnerships and whether they're likely to become a greater Lincolnshire partnership, or will these be still managed on a local level?
So one of the tasks of Greater Lincolnshire will be to look at that enhanced partnership model, and there's a requirement as the Transport Authority that there will have to be one enhanced partnership. So that is a work stream that the Combined Authority will need to be looking at as one of their priorities. In terms of the delivery, and it will obviously form part of that local transport plan and that strategic transport policy that they adopt going forward. In terms of timescales at the Transport Board, 18 months was suggested as a timescale in terms of actually getting a local transport plan written and adopted. It's an ambitious target, but it is one that I know the Combined Authority are committed to at this time.
Any other? Councillor Parkinson.
Thank you. It states on page 33 about the updated position given the new administration, both at LCC and for the new mayor. So when it says these adjustments will need to be built into any future local transport plan, when will that happen? What's the actual process for that, other than saying it will happen at some point?
So the work programme as it stands is that the 3 constituent authorities will work together on the production of that local transport plan. So that includes, so that is Lincolnshire County Council, North and North East Lincolnshire Councils, and officers of those 3 constituent councils will now work together on the production of that local transport plan, working with members and with the Transport Board to ensure that that policy does reflect the current position of those 3 authorities.
But if the 3 positions of the authorities contradict each other, that may be a bit of a problem.
It will be the job of the Transport Board to discuss those and to come to a position where the Combined Authority have a policy that they're happy, that the board is happy that they adopt.
Sorry, Councillor Mitchell.
Thanks. Can I just ask about bus service improvement grant funding? Will that go to the constituent councils whilst ever we have the enhanced partnerships in place? Or will that be will that now come into the GLCCA?
I believe there is a paper coming to a future meeting of the Audit Committee, is that correct? I'm going to check with Dem Services on the finance position, but certainly the current year's plan has been funded as stands, and future discussions are ongoing for the BSIP arrangements as outlined. Sorry that we can't give you more details on that, Councillor.
Thank you. And through you, Chair, I can confirm that the Audit Committee has been requested to consider that item.
Anything else from the floor? Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. I notice on the plan of all three constituent authorities that economic growth is widely accepted as part of what's needed. I would like to see a more specific line about accessibility to jobs. So if you have economic growth in one area, perhaps a slightly different area, we might look at how we get people moving within a reasonable time to get to access those jobs.
So a levelling out agenda.
Yeah, sort of. But it doesn't really say that, does it? And it doesn't really say that, say, for example, something happens in the North Bank and creates thousands of skilled jobs. It takes over an hour for people from Lincoln to access that. And, you know, where does it say in the plan that, you know, that could be a 30-minute journey if we had strategic overlook at that and, you know, improved road services or rail services.
Yeah, I can see looking at the 10 proposed interventions, it can be woven into that, but yes, if we could add that specifically. You mentioned a stretch target of 18 months to get a report. How are we going to measure how we're going to meet the constituent authorities' aims?
Normally within a local transport plan, when it's developed, we also have an accompanying action plan that we can helps to monitor. So we would normally have a sort of strategy document at the front and then some measurable targets for that performance management piece. I think in terms of achieving the 18-month target, I think at future meetings we'll be breaking down the different key points within that programme. So you'll be able to make sure officers are progressing that work at appropriate times, yes.
Anything else from the floor? Thank you very much for that. Councillor Smith.
Yes, thank you, Chair. In respect of recommendation 4, the production of a new local transport plan, did I hear right, two-part question, did I hear right that that's anticipated to be done within 18 months? Okay, and will this committee, will this scrutiny committee receive the various components of that as they're written and agreed, or is it going to be presented as a one-er at the end?
I think that'll be part and parcel of that pre-sort of, I won't say calling, but preview and post-view. So they will be looking at the work order of the bulk of the work in the different items to scrutinise, and then see when it would fit in with that and whether there's merits being fitting that. I think it will, but that work looking at the work plan and what will be presented to specific committees is embryonic at present, but we will take into account what's been said on the council floor. Councillor Mitchell.
Thanks, Chair. I'd just like to make the point, I think 18 months is very ambitious for a key strand of policy. And I, for one, would like to see regular updates to oversight and scrutiny on the LTP.
Okay. Noted. Anything else from the floor? Are people, do we have a proposer for what we've discussed?
Councillor King.
Councillor King. And a seconder? Councillor Roberts. Any abstentions, or will you go for a vote? Have a vote, please. In favour? Unanimous again. Thank you very much. That concludes the formal part of the meeting. Do we not have any other business? There's no other business. That's one bit from local authority that's, yeah. Right, in which case, I thank everybody for their attendance. Thank you very much for your time.